Hey there guys, EctoMaster here. It's not Friday, well it might be, or it's Thursday night, one or the other. I haven't decided. It all depends on how long this video is and how long it takes me to edit it, because it's gonna take a little bit of time. With that having been said, I have been thinking about doing a video like this for at least about a month. Because, you know, World of Warcraft is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. That's amazing. The fact that this, game, this singular game, has been something that I have played pretty much continuously over the last 10 years. No other game that I've ever played can say that. Not Mario Kart, not Ghostbusters, not even Super Mario Brothers. And I felt like, there's so many memories, good, bad, you name it, to come out over the last 10 years that I wanted to go through each stage up to, pretty much now and take it from there. And so I figured, why the hell not? So I decided to throw this little video together, put it together in the celebration of World of Warcraft's 10-year anniversary. And the best place to start is right back when it started in 2004 with World of Warcraft. So World of Warcraft came out in 2004, and it was, to kind of give you an idea of what it did to me, I need to go back to a game I was playing at the time, which was Star Wars Galaxies. It's about the only game that I ever really achieved like an end level with a class. And the reason why I want to start with Star Wars Galaxies, it had been out for a year, and it just started its first expansion pack, which allowed you to fly around in space. And it was actually fairly popular for the time. There was actually areas you couldn't go to without having your character look straight down at the ground, because as soon as you arrived in that planet, I think it was Naboo, it would just, the lag was insane. There were so many people grouped up in one little area that it lagged like crazy. Now, Star Wars and Warcraft weren't the first MMO that I actually played in. It was actually EverQuest, and EverQuest was my first MMO. And I played quite a few different characters. I had a necromancer, I had a rogue, but I didn't get very high in the game. I think the highest I ever got was like 17, and there's a reason behind that. And this actually plays down further in the game for Warcraft. Basically, anything that my dad got into, I wanted to get into, and if we were, the two of us were in it, my brother wanted to get into, and so there was a lot of times that my brother would hop onto my account so that he could play whatever it is that he wanted to play. And then what ended up happening is that in each instance he just kind of took over my account, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit with Warcraft. But the highest I ever gotten in EverQuest was like level 17 with a rogue, and I was kind of proud of myself to get to like 17, but I never got any higher than that. And then, school and everything else kind of interfered with that. I was still in high school. But when WoW came out, I was done with high school. I was 20. There wasn't very much I did. And I remember being in Star Wars Galaxies the day WoW came out. And I was kind of looking around, and I was like, alright, I'm going to Naboo. And when I get there, we're looking down at the ground, and then once we're clear, we're going to look up. So I did that. And then I looked up, turned my character around so I could look at the terminals, and there was like nobody there. It was like 10 people. Usually there was like 70 people just hanging out there. It was like 10 people. There was nobody around. I was like, where is everybody? And I tried seeing if my friends were online. None of my friends were online. And I'm like, I pulled them up on, at the time I was using Yahoo Instant Messenger. I pulled up one of my friends, like, dude, where are you? What's going on? He's like, I got World of Warcraft. What the hell is that? He's like, they're like, it's a fantasy game. You need to check it out. It's really cool. So the next day, my dad had gotten it and I had gotten it, and that was it. That ended. All the other MMOs that I was playing at the time, just nope, no more. This was my focus, and I didn't during vanilla, I didn't get very far. I didn't get into endgame rating. Hell, the highest I got was 31 with a rogue, and I was happy with that. But again, my brother, he liked to use my account, and he wanted to play alongside my dad, and the two of them were playing Horde, but none of my friends wanted to play Horde, and so I was playing Alliance, and I couldn't get in. Like, I loved the undead, but I tried orcs and trolls, because I was like, alright, I'll try it out a Horde, and at that time, you either had Horde characters, and that's all you could have, or you had Alliance characters, and that's all you had. You couldn't have both on a server, unless it was PvE. I think PvE you could have both. I'm not even sure at this point. But you had to have, PvP. You could only have one. And I tried orcs and trolls, and I couldn't play them because actually like the color of the ground was just too red for my eyes. It hurt my eyes. I tried playing the undead, but I couldn't really get into the story. Tauren, to me, always felt like they moved way too slow. And at that time, there weren't any blood elves. There was orcs, trolls, undead, Tauren, and then on the Alliance you had night elves, humans, dwarves, and gnomes, and that was it. That's all you had. And so I started playing with, humans, and I tried playing night elves. I never really liked the night elf starting area. It felt way too big, way too expensive. Kind of like the Tauren. It just felt way too big. They felt big, and you're like lumbering along. I mean, it was so cool though. It was so much fun to play. And it was great to be in this world, and I was playing around in it. Great stories. And, having played EverQuest, I could appreciate, when you left the starting area, you didn't have to load into the next area. Or if you went to Stormwind as a human, you didn't have to load Stormwind, and it kind of loaded up with you. And that was. And now if you went from like Eastern Kingdoms Kalimdor, or even now when you go to Eastern Kingdoms Kalimdor, or if you're going Northrend, Pandaria, they're different servers, so there is that load, but they do it so nicely. It's not, look, here's a loading bar. It's the map, and it shows you going there, and then loading the game. It has a loading bar. I think BC has a loading bar. To be honest, they might all have. I don't know. I don't really pay much attention to it. Those are when I alt tab out. But oh man, I love playing it. Even though I didn't get to the end game, it was so much fun. But it was just before BC that things turned around, because we had just moved down to Florida, and so this is what 2000. We've been down here 8 years. It's about 2006-ish. I kind of want to say 2006. I'm hold on, guys. I'm pulling up Wikipedia because I want to pull it up. World of Warcraft, and I want to. They should have. So, it was released on November 23rd, 2004. World of Warcraft, and then the expansion. I want to know when the expansion came out. I want to know. I'm going gameplay. Nope. Burning Crusade. That's what I want to see. Is Burning Crusade. All right. Control F. There we go. Burning Crusade came out January 15th, 2007. Hold on, that was Malaysia. Hold on. Yeah, it's January 15th, 2007. So, we had just moved to Florida. My dad turned around and said, had mentioned to me at one point that he was willing to buy my account from me because my brother played on it all the time. And I know that's like against the TSO or terms of service, but I was like, that's fine, but I was still paying for it, and I turned around, and at one point my brother was too young to actually own his own account because he didn't really have money or anything like that. But what ended up happening was my dad turned around and bought me a new copy. It was like on sale, so he bought me a new copy of WoW. and I gave, my brother took over my old account, and I started up a new account, and it was, that's when game changed, because Burning Crusade was coming out, and that has very little memory for me. But Burning Crusade is the next step. So Burning Crusade comes around, and I am playing it. I'm leveling through it. I'm playing Alliance at this time. I'm still playing Alliance at the time. I'm in with a guild with a bunch of friends. But this is when I actually started raiding. Once I got to the end of it, it was interesting because back in those days, I was tanking. That's it. I had learned to tank. It was, sorry guys, I'm trying to remember my thoughts. I began tanking, or tried to tank at that time, and at that time you could tank in just about anything. I was wielding a fist weapon with a shield, with agility and intellect as a warrior, because it actually all benefited you. And I was standing there in berserker stance, tanking away, because there was no defined. You had to be, I had all berserker tree and everything. I wasn't in berserker stance, I was in defensive stance, and you could just wail away, and you could tank like that. And it was just, those were just times that it was insane. I remember when Crusade introduced the guy who gave the Arcanite Reaper. What's of interesting to note, my warrior has gone through a lot of changes, name changes, because originally I had this one name and everybody just shortened it. So when name changes came about, I paid the money to shorten it to the shortened name, and it worked perfectly. And then I moved her from one server to another. I've changed her name I've changed her race at least twice, and her faction once. And one race came with the faction change. She was human, and then I made her a horde, so I came with the backstory that she died and came back as a Forsaken, so she was undead. And then people were like, oh my god, the Pandaran warriors are so cool looking when they're... So I was like, alright, well, I'll make her a Pandaran warrior. And then I realized that wasn't a really good idea all in together. I want to race change her back to an undead, now that the undead look freaking fantastic. But it was a blast raiding. I have Arcanite, original Arcanite Reaper and Gorehowl on my warrior now. And in fact, with Transmog, I have, she dual wields. She's still, Fury based, and she dual wields 2 Gorehowls in her, paws, I guess you could say. And it's really cool. I love that. But there wasn't really much that, screams out at me with Burning Crusade. I mean, I loved, I guess the story was great, but I never really did the end raids. I only did, I can only remember doing Karazhan. I can't really remember doing any of the others. It was also towards the end of Burning Crusade that the guild that I was in, that was when it started to decline. Even though I had great friends that were in it, they were starting to leave to go to other guilds, and eventually... Wrath of the Lich King came around. So, next stop, Wrath of the Lich King! So, Wrath of the Lich King. This has a distinction of being my absolute favorite expansion pack, because there was so much memories, and positive memories, and there's so much that I loved about the expansion, that it was just phenomenal. I started, playing Alliance side in the guild that I was when I was in BC, and by the time I hit 80, everybody else is right around 75, and I was at 80 for weeks, and everybody else just kind of stopped playing. And I was like, guys, I was wanting to raid. I want to really well, we're gonna get there. We promise we'll get there, but we need to get more members to the guild, or we don't have enough to do a raid. I was like, well, I want to go raid, so I started pugging raids. And at that time, there was no LFR, so I was just pugging raids. It was a death knight that I had. I got my first taste of Death Knights. It was my first beta that I had ever been in a game, period. My first WoW beta, period. And it was it's when I got my first taste of Death Knights, and I loved it because it was just like my my necromancer back in EverQuest. Sorry, my main. I'm just trying to think of all the good stuff, and my brain's just like. But I remember, it was like I wanted a necromancer, and I loved the Death Knight, and I remember, got my name in the beta, and I saved my character and saved the name in live, so that when the expansion dropped, I could just easily get it. That was also Burning Crusade was the first midnight release I had ever gone to. Wrath was the second, and we'll get to my last midnight release that I ever went to. But that was they were both rather fun. Going back to BC real quick, I remember we were standing around in the GameStop, and the town that I lived in at the time, I live again in now. There wasn't very many people, but there was a crowd inside the game shop. And I had been going to a comic book store that was nearby. I saw the guys for the comic book store. There was a good chance that I could walk in and they would be playing WoW too. And I remember, and my dad was with me at that time because we both bought a copy. He bought two, one for my brother as well. But I remember we were standing in there, and he turned around, and the guys were like, "All right, what we need is everybody just to form a line, and we'll start distributing out the games at midnight." So everybody forms a line, and you could see on the back, on the back shelf, was all the games, all the copies. And my dad looks at me and he goes, "If this was concert tickets for Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, Aerosmith, or tickets to the Super Bowl, it'd be pandemonium in here. The nerds nod quietly and wait patiently in line for their stuff at midnight." And I went to the midnight release for Wrath, and that was fun because even though it was, let me pull this up again. Let's see, Wrath of the Lich King came out in, why don't you say when you release? November of 2008, so November 13th. And I remember even down here in Florida, it was kind of cold that night because it's 11 o'clock at night, it's a little cold, everybody's not bundled up freezing. It was cool out, it was nice out. And we turned around and we looked at everything that was going on, and there was guys in costumes, and then they came out and they did trivia. That was the first time I ever won something at one of these as well. I won the display box for Wrath of the Lich King. But there was so much good stuff from Wrath of the Lich King. You had the zombie event, which is the best event ever. I want to get more into that. I may have to do an episode just on why I love the Wrath of the Lich King. You had the storyline was fantastic. Playing Alliance, that story just blew me away as an Alliance character. As the Horde, really not so much. There wasn't really, except for maybe the Undercity, Battle for the Undercity. Both ways, it was fan-freaking-tastic. The defeat of the Lich King. It was actually Wrath of the Lich King that I finally switched from Alliance to Horde. As I had stated, my guild was I was trying to get into raiding. Nobody was raiding. And so, not nobody in the game was raiding, nobody in my guild was raiding or ready to raid. And I ended up leaving the guild, joining another guild. That guild disbanded. I joined another guild, but they had a priority system as well as a DKP system. So it's you had to be here on certain nights, and if you couldn't make it here on certain nights, you were not considered reliable, and you wouldn't be able to get as many chances to go in. But if they could get you in, then you could use your DKP to buy tokens. But the problem is, you couldn't always get in, so you didn't always have a whole lot of DKP. So I kind of stagnated at one point. And that's when I just said, I need to go somewhere. And my brother and my dad were come to us. We're over on the Horde side. So I made Death Knight on the Horde side. How did I do it? I think I moved the character over, made a Death Knight, leveled the Death Knight, and as soon as I hit 80, I was yes, I'm 80! And my guild was all right, here's an invite, we're doing the 5-man TOC. I'm but I just hit 80. They're I'm not going to be able to do anything. They're no, don't worry, we'll get you here, don't worry. And within a week, I was raiding Ulduar with them. I wasn't the best, and we weren't hardcore, but to be accepted into that group that quickly. Just because of the association with my brother and my dad, I actually became one of the more reliable raiders, and it was fantastic. And in fact, it was that guild and that time that I met Sasquatch and his wife. They moved over from another server with a friend who ended up leaving the guild, and we were worried that they were going to leave because she was Mrs. Sasquatch was a great DPS who then transitioned into a tank, and he was a healer. And so we're like, we'd hate to lose you guys, and they're like, no, we're not leaving. You guys are awesome. You're like family. It's like, it's great. I love running with you guys. We love running with you, and it felt great. He probably knows this, but she and I used to chat back and forth while the raid was happening. We would just whisper back and forth. It wasn't anything like, "Hey, baby." No, we weren't doing anything like that, dude. It was just friendly talking. We were having fun. It was Wrath of the Lich King had to be my favorite, hands down. Because it was Cataclysm that, for me, things really started to change. So let's go right ahead. Let's get into Cataclysm. So Cataclysm comes around. That was the last time that I went to a midnight release, because my dad and I were playing up the midnight release to my brother. My brother was real excited. It was his first one ever. And we go there, and we're there early, so we're kind of sticking out in the store. They're showing on the video like Star Wars: The Old Republic, which looks great with the cinematics and everything. I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. And I knew not to be fooled by the cinematics at that point. But it's like, yeah, that looks awesome, and this, that, and the other thing. And I remember sitting there, and it's just like they started doing, like, they had trivia during Wrath of the Lich King release, and they were like, all right, so Menethil Harbor. Menethil Harbor is named after, who is it named after? And I was the only one who was at King Terrence Menethil. It was Arthas's father that it was named after, and that's how I won the box. This time they're like, all right, so in Super Mario Brothers, what is how do you fire the fireballs? Yeah, and it was like, well, it's this, it's fire. Yeah, here's a Pac-Man thing. Here you go. It was like, it just had gone from the last time. It was just like, really, guys, you're not even trying. Though what was funny was, at the very end, they were like, all right, we're going to pull names out of hats, and we call your name, you win a prize. And you get to pick whatever you want from over here. And so, first name is O'Connor, which is my real last name. And both my dad and I at the same time went, which one? And, and then you say my dad's name. My dad goes over for my brother. He picks out the display box. And the very next, the other O'Connor. It's like, yeah, I'll take the other one. Why not? But that was the last one we went to. Cataclysm was fun, but the story felt disjointed to me. I guess it kind of in sync with the actual game. It was, the game itself was fractured. We did pretty much every raid. I mean, I completed every raid in there. But towards the end of it, that's when LFR was coming around. We were losing members. We were hemorrhaging. And for multiple reasons. It wasn't one singular reason that people were leaving. It wasn't because of the guild or anything like that. It was multiple reasons that we're losing members. And I mean, although we were still having fun and we were still doing stuff, by the end we really weren't as cohesive as we used to be. And we finished up the raid. We finished up all the raids by the end. But there wasn't as many warm fuzzies as there was with Wrath. I absolutely loved the addition of new characters, the additions of the goblins and the worgen. That was the second beta that I had ever been in. I loved playing, the new content, the new old content, the new old world, if you will. It was the update to a lot of those areas. Silverpine has easily become one of my favorite, if not the most favorite zone in the game. And but there was just when I look back, when I compare Wrath to Cata, and it just isn't there. The tie-in event wasn't as interesting. Some of the questing wasn't. The update to the questing, though, there was, in the past it would be, alright, so you need to go kill, 12 dire wolves. Well, there's all these other... No, not these wolves. These wolves are... The ones you need to kill are kind of intermingled with the other wolves. And it's like, but it's kind of hard to discern. It'll say on their name, so you'll be able to figure it out. And then you get to Cataclysm, it's like, kill 12 things. Which 12 things do you want me to... No, I don't care. Just kill 12 of them that are over there and take care of it. Okay, thank you. Thank you for not being specific, and I can kill whatever the hell I want and then come back to you, and it's done. I did enjoy that. Bashir was just way disappointing. I did love the story of what's the name of that one? Oh, God. The Indiana Jones one. It did introduce my favorite quest in the whole freaking game. Two of my favorite quests in the whole game. Welcome to the Machine, which is in Hillsbrad, and then the Angry Spirits or Angered Spirits, where you get the portable... You get a proton pack. As a Ghostbusters fan, it made me happy. But, of course, after Cataclysm, it moves on to Mist of Pandaria. So, Mist of Pandaria. This is when my guild kind of really fell apart. A lot of personal stuff came up with a lot of people. A lot of people just stopped playing altogether for multiple different reasons. Nothing that was like, I hate you and you don't. You're terrible at tanking. Well, you're terrible at healing and you're a terrible DPS. And there was none of that. It was just like my brother, had become an adult by this point and had finally moved on to playing, he couldn't play as much, he was working, and he was like the best DPS in the game. And then we had, Sasquatch and his wife were going through some tough times at the start of Mist of Pandaria as well. They both wanted to stop playing paladins, they both wanted to play monks. That's when they started doing cross-realm stuff, and you had level 90s that were coming in, and they were just ganking all these new players that were trying to level, and we were on a PvP server, so there wasn't much we could do. They got frustrated with the game. They ended up stopped playing. He's come back every now and then. She hasn't really come back. It just kind of fell apart. But the storytelling of the game, I absolutely loved it. That was the first time I didn't do the midnight release, but I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was the smoothest launch for a game I had ever seen, and I absolutely loved it. I love the Pandaren. I love the way that they move. I love the jokes that they tell. The story in the game was fantastic. Again, not as many warm fuzzies going back again. It was a little bit better than Cata, but it wasn't as good as Wrath. And I'm just trying to think. It was the third beta that I had been in for the game. And, I'm still playing it. And we've got Warlords of Draenor coming out next week. And the warm fuzzies are coming back from Cata. I'm just sitting there going, oh my god, all this stuff. You got the garrisons, you got new models. It's all the you go up to a dude and you're doing a quest, and sometimes they have the little boxes over their head and you have to read the quest text in the corner of the screen. Well, no, they actually say what they're saying. There's voice acting in it, and it's just, and you have companions that you can send out and do. Oh my god, there's so much stuff, it's going to be so cool. And I am really, really excited for it. And I've been trying to tell Sasquatch, dude, you need to come back. It is just so awesome. And he's like, he's non-committal, so we'll see if that'll happen. But I am so excited for World of Warcraft, Warlords of Draenor. I am so excited to see what Blizzard is bringing to BlizzCon. I can't wait for the next expansion pack. I can't wait to see Warcraft 10 years from now, while I'm sitting here and I'm 40 going, my god, guys, the last 4 expansions since I last did a video like this, This one's going to be amazing. I hope I'm doing that in 10 years of World of Warcraft. Blizzard, I want to thank you guys for putting out an excellent product. And despite, you know, the numbers going up and down, thank you very much. You guys are awesome. You have made a phenomenal game. A game that has transcended a lot because it has set the bar. And that bar is pretty high. And no one else has really been able to get to that bar. And I thank you guys for watching and putting up with me as I reminisce about the good old days back in time. And so until then, I will see you guys next time for the Horde!